Good morning children. Today we are going to see Geography Lesson 2, Land, Soil, Water, Natural Vegetation and Wildlife Resources. Now we will see about land. See children, land is the most basic resource because we live on land, right? So land is the basic resource. See children, you imagine without land how can we live? Where we will stay? It's unimaginable, isn't it? Yes. So we are going to see about land. See children, land covers only about 30% of the total area of the earth's surface. So how much percentage of land covers the total area of the earth's surface? Above 30%. Got it? Actually 90% of the world population occupies only 30% of land area. Already we have about 30% of the land area. In that 90% of the world population occupies only 30% of land area. The remaining 70% of the land is either sparsely populated or uninhabited. Sparsely populated means population will be very low. Okay. Then children, what is the meaning of uninhabited? Actually, in a certain place, if humans do not live, it is called uninhabited. Whereas, if the place is populated, it is called inhabited. So, what is the meaning of uninhabited? In a certain place, if humans do not live, it is called uninhabited. Whereas, if the place is populated, it is called inhabited. Simply, we can say uninhabited na anga people live pannala. There won't be population. But inhabited, it means people anga live pannittirukanga. Okay children, do you think every part of the world is equally populated? எல்லா இடத்துலயும் ஈக்குவலான population இருக்கா? No, it's not. Why? Because all of this land is not equally suitable for human habitation or economic activities. Human habitation, already we have discussed about that. Human habitation means people can live over there. So all of this land is not equally suitable for human habitations or economic activities. See, economic activities means nothing but work done for money. For example, agriculture, rearing cattle, business and trade, etc. So these are all economic activities. So the uneven distribution of population in different parts of the world is mainly due to varied characteristics of land and climate. So what are the two factors determine the uneven distribution of population in different parts of the world? One is land and another one is climate. See, land means already we know the different landforms such as mountains, plateaus, valleys, even desert, right? So that the two factors, two reasons behind the uneven distribution of population around the world. What are the reasons behind uneven population distribution? Are mainly the varied conditions of land and climate. So what are the two reasons behind the uneven distribution of population? Varied conditions of land and climate. Okay. You know children, sometimes some physical landforms won't be suitable for living, like the rugged topography means மேடும் பள்ளமுமா இருக்கிற ஒரு uneven topography, then steep slopes of the mountains, then low-lying areas susceptible to water, flooding, It means water logging. It means அங்கே வந்து தண்ணி எப்பவுமே தேங்கி நிற்கிறது. Then desert areas. Then thick forest areas are normally sparsely populated or uninhabited. Okay. But generally plains and river valleys are suitable land for agriculture. So these are the densely populated areas of the world. Got it? Next we will see about land use. See children, let me ask you a question. For what purposes we use land? Land is used for different purposes, isn't it? Such as very first agriculture, then forestry, mining. You know the meaning of mining? சுரங்க தொழில்னு சொல்லுவோம்ல, அதுதான் நிலக்கரி சுரங்கம், தங்கச் சுரங்கம் சொல்லுவோம், mining. Then building houses, then roads, infrastructure facilities, and setting up of industries, right? So these are the very very important purposes, isn't it? So land is used for different purposes such as agriculture, forestry, mining, building houses, roads, and setting up of industries. So this is commonly termed as land use. So what do you mean by land use, children? Land use refers to the use of land for different purposes such as agriculture, forestry, mining, building houses, roads, and setting up of industries. Isn't it? Are you clear? Yes. Now the use of land is determined by physical factors such as topography, soil, climate, minerals, and availability of water. These are the physical factors which determine the use of land. Okay, so the use of land is determined. Otherwise, what are the factors determine the use of land? What are the physical factors? Topography, soil, climate, minerals, and availability of water. So very very important, isn't it? Yes. Then children, do you know the meaning of topography? See, geographical conditions of certain places, that is called topography. Then soil, whether it is fertile soil or unfertile soil and all. And also climatic condition, whether it is too hot or too cold, like that condition. Even desert area, whether it is a desert area. So that climatic condition also one of the factors to determine the use of land. And minerals, yes, of course, if there is minerals, of course there will be mining sectors, so that also one of the factors. And availability of water, it's a very very important factor, because then only the agriculture will be practiced, right? Agriculture is very very important for our survival, isn't it? So that these are the physical factors. Now we will see about human factors. Human factors such as population and technology. Population, yes, nowadays population is growing more and more, right? At the same time technology is also improved more. So this both population and technology are the human factors. These also determine the use of land. So the use of land is determined by two factors. One is physical factor and another one is human factor. Physical factors are topography, soil, climate, minerals, and availability of water. At the same time, human factors such as population and technology are also important determinants of land use pattern. Okay. See children, on the basis of ownership, land can be broadly classified as private land, community land. So on the basis of ownership, land is divided into what? Private land and community land. Don't forget it. Then private land is owned means owner. Who will be the owner of the private land? It will be an individual. Then community land is owned and used by the whole community. It means common use. Common people can use the land. Okay. For example, like a collection of fodder, fruits, nuts, or medicinal herbs. So these community lands are also called common property resources. So common property resources refers community lands. Got it? So on the basis of ownership, land is divided into private land and community land. Then private land is owned by an individual, whereas community land is owned by community or government. Okay, so these community lands are also called common property resources. For example, we can say pastures, parks, roads, etc. Pasture means pulveli, like cattle grazing பண்றதுக்கான pasture. Okay, these are the examples of common property. Some examples of common property. Got it? Now let's move on to land degradation. See children, degradation means in Tamil, land degradation means nila alivu. அதாவது நிலம்லாம் ரொம்ப அழிஞ்சு போகிறதுன்னு சொல்லுவோம்ல, அதுதான் land degradation. How it happens? See, the total quantity of land on earth is limited. Yes, about 30% of land means that much only. We can't extend that. But population is growing on, right? So the total quantity of land on earth is limited and cannot be increased to meet the needs of our growing population. That is very important, right? So moreover, a usable land may become unfit for use due to pollution caused by the unscientific disposal of waste and bad farming practices. It refers like we are using more pesticides and fertilizers, insecticides and all, right? So these are also one of the factors for land degradation. So and also these factors cause soil erosion and loss of soil fertility. These are the factors to affect land. So land degradation will happen due to overuse of land, then unscientific disposal of waste. For example, polythene covers, after we use, just like that we throw it away. So like that unscientific disposal of waste and bad farming practices, which means overusing of pesticides and fertilizers. Okay, so that these are the factors lead to the land degradation, and also soil erosion and loss of soil fertility also. Okay, so land degradation, landslides. See children, landslides means nothing but in Tamil we used to say no, nilacharivu. Like especially during rainy season, always we can hear near Nilagiri, near Kunnur, nilacharivu, so transportation blockage, like that we used to hear, right? So nilacharivu. So land degradation, landslides, soil erosion. Soil erosion means man aripun solluvom. Actually soil erosion refers to the removal of topsoil by natural agents such as wind and flowing water is called soil erosion. And desertification. See, desertification means immediately you can remember that desert area. Okay, see see delta regions and all, we used to say nowadays it looks like desert because நல்ல ஃபெர்டைல் லேண்ட் ஒரு பாலைவனமாகும் அப்படின்னு சொல்லி தமிழுக்கு we can hear that. So that is called desertification. Now we will see about conservation of land resource. See children, in order to avoid land degradation, landslides, soil erosion, we have to follow some methods, right? They are afforestation, checks on overgrazing, reduced use of chemical pesticides and fertilizers. See children, afforestation means the action of planting trees, more trees. We have to grow more trees, right? That is afforestation. What is the meaning of deforestation? See, the action of cutting down trees, right? So we should do afforestation, right? Then checks on overgrazing. We have to control the overgrazing of cattle and all. Then reduced use of chemical pesticides and fertilizers. During practice of cultivation, what should we do? We should avoid using more fertilizers and pesticides. Like instead of using that, better we can go for organic farming, right? So like this way we should conserve our land. Okay children, let's move on to soil. See children, what is soil? The thin layer of grainy substance covering the surface of the earth is called soil. So the thin layer of grainy, small particles are grainy, குட்டி குட்டி கல் மண் இதெல்லாம் இருக்குல்ல. So the thin layer of grainy substance covering the surface of the earth is called soil. So it is closely linked to land, obviously land. Yes, because the soil is on the land, right? Then landforms determine the types of soil. Yes, already you have learnt about the types of soil, right? For example, red soil, black soil, alluvial soil, then laterite soil, isn't it? So these are the types of soil, isn't it? Basically, soil is made up of organic matter, minerals and weathered rocks found on the earth. See, in that organic matter, you know, organic matter means humus, you know. Humus is nothing but the dead remains of plants and animals, isn't it? Then I told you about minerals. Yes, the composition of minerals, like in that only bauxite, what is that, copper, magnesium, calcium, these are the some examples of minerals like that. This composition also contains in that soil. So soil is made up of organic matter, minerals and weathered rocks found on the earth. See children, what do you mean by weathering? See, the breaking up of decay of exposed rocks by temperature changes, frost action, plants, animals and human. See, simply we can say the breaking up of rocks into small particles. How it happens? Due to decay of exposed rocks. This explosion will happen by temperature, whether it is high temperature or low temperature. And frost action, you know, if it is so cold also, there will be crack comes, right? Isn't it? So that also one of the reason. And plants, see, in that crack, if you see here also, if you see the hilly areas or some rocks, in between plants will come from that crack. So obviously that root also will affect the rocks. One point of time, root will break the rocks. In fact, you can hear near to our house that big trees won't be growing. People won't encourage to grow big trees, because at one point of time that deep root will affect the basement of the house. So that why I am telling you, know, plants, how plants will affect the rocks. how plants also will break up the rocks due to the deep roots. So, and also animals, you know that like a rabbit and all, it burrows the holes into the rocks. Like that also animals affects, and of course human being, for our convenience, for our needs, we will break the rocks, right? So in this way, the breaking up and decay of exposed rocks by temperature changes, frost action, plants, animals and man. This happens through the process of weathering, right? So soil is, I tell you again, soil is made up of organic matter, minerals and weathered rocks found on the earth. This happens through the process of weathering. Already I have told you about weathering, right? Then the right mix of minerals and organic matter make the soil fertile. So which makes the soil fertile? The right mix of minerals and organic matter make the soil fertile. We know very well, where there is humus more, there is fertile soil, isn't it? So at the same time, minerals also very important component, right? So the right mix of minerals and organic matter make the soil fertile. Got it? See children, now we are going to see about the soil profile. It means soil is made up of 4 layers, which are topsoil. Topsoil contains humus and vegetation, right? Then subsoil. Subsoil, what is that? Contains sand, silt and clay, right? Then fragment rock material means weathered rock material. Then fourth one, parent rock, obviously. So from the parent rock only the rock will be weathering. So rocks will be broken up into tiny particles. Then after that subsoil, subsoil contains with sand, silt and clay. Then topsoil contains humus and vegetation. This is the soil profile. So soil is made up of 4 layers. Got it? See children, now we are going to see about the factors of soil formation. What are the factors are involving the soil formation? Okay, fine. The major factors of soil formation are the nature of the parent rock and climatic factors. See, simply I can tell you about parent rock. What is parent rock? The rock from which soil is derived is called parent rock. So, soil is derived from rock which is called parent rock. Okay, so that is the base. It only gives the color, texture and the mineral composition of the soil. So parent rock is very important. And what I told you, what are the major factors of soil formation, or the nature of the parent rock and climatic factors. Yes, of course, climate only will determine the weathering of the rock, isn't it? Yes. So what is that? Nature of the parent rock and climatic factors are the major factors of soil formation. But along with that, other factors are there. What are they? Let us see. Topography, then role of organic material and time taken for the composition of soil formation. So, but these factors will differ from place to place. Okay. Now let us see about relief. See, relief means altitude. Actually, you know about altitude, right? What do you mean by altitude? Altitude means high above the sea level, right? Okay, so altitude and slope also determine accumulation of soil. Accumulation means collection of soil. Got it? Then we will see about flora, fauna and microorganisms. See, flora, fauna and microorganisms which live in the soil helps to add humus to it. How? Basically, humus means the dead organic matter found in the soil, right? So, when the flora, fauna, microorganisms die, their remains help to create humus, isn't it? So that humus also, flora, fauna and microorganisms affect the rate of humus formation. Okay. Next, we will see about time. See, the process of soil formation takes a long time. You know, children, it takes hundreds of years to make just 1 centimeter of soil. How much time it will take to form 1 centimeter of soil? Hundreds of years. So, the process of soil formation takes a long time. But the time taken is different under different conditions. For example, soil formation takes place more faster, more rapidly in tropical climates than in colder climates. So, the process of soil formation takes a long time. The time taken is different under different conditions. Okay. And also time determines the thickness of soil profile. Okay. Now we will move on to soil degradation. See, soil erosion and depletion are the major threats to soil as a resource. See children, already I have told you about soil erosion, right? What do you mean by soil erosion? Actually, soil erosion means removal of topsoil by running waters, winds and human action. Right, these are the natural agents like wind, rain and all. So, due to this heavy rain, heavy wind, the topsoil will be removed from one place to another place. Got it? That is நீல மண் அரிப்பு அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. And also depletion means decreasing, அதாவது குறையிறது. The quantity of soil will be reduced. So that is depletion. See, you can ask why, what is the problem if it happens? See, you imagine topsoil, then subsoil, then parent rock will be there. Then only the quantity will be more soil, quantity will be more, so cultivation will be practiced. If there is no soil, only hard land surface is there, how can we cultivate? Right? So cultivation completely won't be done, right? So that soil, we need soil to cultivate, right? So that we should avoid soil erosion and depletion. See, for example, I tell you in Tamil Nadu, Ramnad districts, Thuthukudi and part of Tirunelveli these districts are affected by soil erosion. That's why if you see Ramnad districts, there won't be more cultivation because of the soil erosion. So that soil erosion and depletion are the major threats to soil as a resource. Okay. Then both human and natural factors can lead to soil degradation. How? Factors which lead to soil degradation are deforestation. Of course, cutting down of trees, right? Deforestation. Okay, you can ask why we need afforestation? Because vegetation, see, plants and trees will avoid soil erosion and landslides. How? Because these vegetation, these plants and trees hold the soil firmly. So, whereas if there are no plants and trees, the possibility of soil erosion and landslides will increase. If there is no plants and vegetations, soil will be loosened. So automatically, if heavy rain or heavy wind comes, automatically the soil will be removed. Okay, but if there is vegetation, it will hold the soil firmly. Got it? So that's why always the government will insist deep forestation. We should plant trees more. Uh, Otherwise, if forestation is more, automatically what will happen? Soil erosion, soil depletion will reduce. So once again, I tell you what are the factors which lead to soil degradation. Okay, one is deforestation, then overgrazing, then overuse of chemical pesticides and fertilizers, then rain wash, landslides and floods. These are the factors which lead to soil degradation. Got it? Now let's discuss about common methods of soil conservation. Some common methods are mulching, contour barriers, rock dam, terrace forming, intercropping, contour ploughing and shelter belts. Now we will see one by one. Now let me explain about mulching. See, what is mulch? The technical term mulch means covering of soil. So, mulching is the process of covering the background between plants with a layer of organic matter like straw. In fact, like straw and also coconut husk, coconut coir, etc. See, generally farmers will prefer to cover the background between the plants with the organic matters like organic straw, coconut husk, coconut coir. But sometimes somebody will use polythene cover to cover the background between the plants. Why? Okay, whether it is biodegradable or non-biodegradable, why the farmers will use the covering process? Because to retain soil moisture. Okay, in order to retain soil moisture, the background between plants is covered with a layer of organic matter like straw is called mulching. Got it? Now let's go on to contour barriers. See children, contour means nothing but the curves or lines which naturally occur on the hills and mountains. See, if you look at the hills and mountains, see நேச்சுரலாகவே ஒரு லைன் மாதிரி ஒரு கர்வ் மாதிரி எல்லாம் இருக்கும், அதெல்லாம் தான் கான்டர்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. ஸோ கான்டர் பேரியர்ஸ் மீன்ஸ் என்னது? தடுப்பு, பிளாக்கேஜ். ஓகே, ஸோ கான்டர் பேரியர் அப்படியே அந்த லைனாக அந்த கர்வ்ல எல்லாம் ஒரு தடுப்பு வைக்கிறது தான். ஸோ கான்டர் பேரியர்ஸ் இன் திஸ் மெத்தட் generally contour barriers are built because it helps to reduce soil erosion and it store more water in the soil for the benefit of crops. For that, see children, if there is heavy rain, the rainwater will come rushing down, right? நல்ல ஃபாஸ்ட்டாக மேலேருந்து கீழே வருமா? And while doing that, what will happen? It will take that layer of fertile soil with it, right? So, to prevent this, what farmers will do? Farmers make contour barriers. So, children, what do the contour barriers do? Actually, these contour barriers slow down the rushing rainwater and reduces soil erosion, right? Actually, all kinds of barriers can help to slow down runoff water from rain. Actually, contour barriers are built with the help of stones, grass, soil, isn't it? In fact, barriers can be built of whatever materials that are locally available. See, sometimes some areas stones are easily available, some areas farmers will get grass, okay, but some areas soil is available. So according to their convenience, according to the availability of things, whether it will be stones or grass or soil, are used to build barriers, okay, along with contours. So in fact the grass, I want to tell you about grass. In fact that grass name is elephant grass, and also one more vetiver, we used here the name vetiver, that also strong root. So farmers will use these roots also as a blockage, as a counter barriers, okay. So basically these counter barriers are built with the help of stones or grass or soil, okay. And trenches are made in front of the barriers to collect water. Trenches means kuli, நல்ல pit, அது வந்து நிறைய குழி, trenches are made in front of the barriers to collect water, okay. Now we move on to rock dam. See, rocks are piled up to slow down the flow of water. See, rock dam you can see near the sea and a river. Then where we can see the coastal areas, right? And this rock dam prevents gullies and further soil loss. Gullies means நல்ல குண்டும் குழியுமான்னு சொல்கிறோம்ல, அது மாதிரி ஒரு அன்னீவனாக அந்த இடத்த ஒரு பிட் இதெல்லாம் ஃபார்ம் ஆகாமல் பார்த்து it will take care. This rock dam prevents gullies and further soil loss. Got it? Let's see terrace farming. These are made on the steep slopes so that flat surfaces are available to grow crops. They can reduce surface runoff and soil erosion. See children, terrace farming generally we can see Ooty, Kodaikanal, Munnar, like other hill stations and all, coffee and tea estates will be there, right? Why? Because here steep slopes are there in hilly regions, right? They are not suitable for cultivation. So farmers make flat steps on the steep slopes of hilly areas and mountains. Generally என்னன்னா ரொம்ப ஸ்டீப் ஸ்லோப்பாக இருக்கிறதுல வந்து நம்ம கல்டிவேட் பண்ண முடியாதனால farmers what did they do? They every time what they will do, no, flat steps create பண்ணிப்பாங்க. அப்படிங்கிறப்போ they will get flat surface, right? So farmers make flat steps on the steep slopes of hilly and mountains, so that flat surfaces are available to grow crops in hilly areas. Actually these steps also help in reducing the speed of rainwater flowing down from the hill. So terrace farming reduces the speed of rainwater and also reducing soil erosion. So there are flat surfaces available to grow crops also. Got it? So mainly we should understand about terrace farming. Farmers will make it as a flat steps to cultivate in the steep slopes. So generally this terrace farming is practiced in hilly areas. Got it? Now let's move on to intercropping. See, in intercropping different crops are grown in alternate rows and are sown at different times to protect the soil from being washed away by rain. It means different crops are grown in alternate rows. One row la oru payir oru crop na, next row la another crop. That also different time it will be sown. Then only once if we harvest a crop, by the time that alternative row crops is on growing stage, so that automatically what will happen, it holds the soil firmly. So here soil erosion will be reduced from heavy rainwater, heavy wind. Now I will tell you an example of intercropping. The example is intercropping coconut and marigold. Children, let me tell you important fact regarding intercropping. Okay, see, generally farmers will select crops. How you know? They will choose one crop with shallow roots and the other crop with deep roots. Then only they do not compete for the same soil space. So that generally in the intercropping, farmers will choose one crop with shallow roots and the other crop with deep roots. Okay. Then another examples I can tell you, coffee and banana are intercropped. Then maize and beans are intercropped. Then intercropping coffee and tomatoes. Okay, these are some examples of intercropping. See, contour plowing. Contour plowing means plowing parallel to the contours of a hill slope to form a natural barrier for water to flow down the slope. Same as already we said that in the contour barriers, why to build contour barriers. In the terrace forming, how did they do? So contour plowing is plowing parallel to the contours of a hill slope to form a natural barrier. See here, note this point. Form a natural barrier, not to make by farmers or make by human beings. Okay, so plowing parallel to the contours of a hill slope to form a natural barrier for water to flow down and slope. So it also prevents soil erosion. Okay. See children, you may think like already we have seen terrace forming, this contour plowing is also like the same, but there is one difference. Let me tell you. Difference between terrace forming and contour plowing. See, in contour plowing, the steps occur naturally in the hills or mountains, whereas in terrace forming, steps are made by the farmers themselves. So this is the major difference between terrace forming and contour plowing. In contour plowing, these contours will occur naturally, whereas in terrace forming, steps are made by the farmers. Got it? Now let us see shelter belt, which is the last method of the soil conservation. Okay. See children, in the coastal and dry regions, rows of trees are planted. And means trees. Rows of trees are planted to check the wind movement, to protect soil cover too. Okay. So simply we can say a shelter belt is a planting usually made up of one or more rows of trees or shrubs planted in such a manner as to provide shelter from the wind and to protect soil from erosion. So they are generally planted in the edges of farms. Actually it's like a fencing. Okay, so you can see in the coastal areas எல்லாம் அண்டால் அப்படியே லைனாக நிறைய ட்ரீஸ் க்ரோ ஆகிருக்கும். அது எதுக்கு அப்படின்னா ஒரு ஹெவி விண்ட்லேருந்து ப்ரொடெக்ட் பண்ணுறதுக்கும். இப்போ இன்கேஸ் இஃப் ஹெவி விண்ட் கம்ஸ் வாட் வில் ஹேப்பன்? Sandstorm, like a soil erosion will happen. So through this shelter belts it will be avoided as well as from rainwater. Okay, so shelter belts is like a fencing. Children, I hope you all understood this content clearly. The remaining contents will be discussed in the next video. So far what we have discussed, please read at home. Thank you.